and welcome to Paint Nite Ottawa. My name is Shelby and I'll be your hostess this evening. We're going to paint this together. It's called Sunfish. I will get back to that in a moment. I'll just let you know why I'm here. For many years of my life I worked with people. I've been a freelance artist for about 15 years, but I never really pursued it as my main career because I felt guilty. Art has just been too much fun and work is associated with suffering, so I didn't think that I could actually have a career in art. That has changed. I'm now running a youth center during the day, 30 hours a week. And although there's not any direct art, there's lots of creativity involved. When I'm not doing that, I teach and I paint. So here I am. I'm going to show you the materials that we're going to be using. Our color palette is pretty simple. We have two different purples, a blue and a turquoise, gray and a white. And then we have red, orange, yellow, and white. We will not be using any of these colors to start though. So we're just going to start with the background colors. We're not even going to worry about these fish. The first brush you'll want to use is the biggest one you can find, because we are going to paint the background black, entirely black. Think of this as painting a house. The first time you put your paint down, you're going to see a lot of streaks. So let it dry, go back in for a second layer. Perfect opportunity to take a drink. Now once you have your black canvas and it's dry, we're going to get right into the color. We're going to paint a nebula essentially, and all we want to do is kind of create some sort of spiral. My two favorite colors are purple and turquoise, so that's what I'm going with. If you don't like this color combination, go for something else. Just don't use orange and yellow, because that will basically mess up how the fish are going to look. So the other three brushes that I'm going to use are not flat. If you only have flat brushes, fine. Just make sure you have three different sizes: a medium, large, a smaller one, and a fine pointed one. So we're going to start with the biggest one. Dip your brush in water because we want our paint to be kind of inky. Grab a couple of paper towels because we're going to need those pretty soon. I'm going to start with the darker blue. Make it really runny and inky. And we're just going to start, paint a little kind of swirly. Don't make it a complete swirl though, we want to have some branches coming off that, so that's good. A branch there, branch there. And we're just going to kind of mush that in. The lines do not have to be perfect. This is just the background, so most of what we're doing right now is going to be covered up anyways. Now I'm going to go into the dark purple and do the exact same thing, only I'm going to go into the space that I haven't touched yet. So here looks like a good spot for some purple. This looks like a good spot here. We kind of want to keep the middle black. That's like the eye of the hurricane. Don't worry too much about blending right now either. We're just throwing color down. Good. So this is basically the shadow part of our nebula. Now I'm going to go right into the lighter purple. I don't really need to wash my brush because I'm staying with the purple right now. And now I'm going to start to put some lighter purpley stuff going on. Play with your brush. You never know what will happen if you just kind of let it do its own thing. Now, while that's still wet, here is the trick. Grab a piece of paper towel and just start wherever. And if it's not still wet, who cares? It'll just help with the blending and the smudging. And it'll be really interesting when you go home with this, because people will have a hard time figuring out how you did that. You can share the cheat code or not, that's up to you. Now I'm going to do the same thing, only I'm going to rinse my brush off a little bit because we're going back to the blue. And I'm going to take a little bit of that pure blue color that I took, and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of the turquoise. About half and half. Again, make sure your paint is inky, so mix it with some water. And we're going to follow some of that blue and we're going to give it some highlight. If you can make sound effects, it's quite helpful. If you're too embarrassed to make the sound effects out loud, do them in your head. I guarantee it works. So again, we're going to grab our paper towel. And I like the way this is looking, but I think I need a little bit more purple. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to take the bright purple color. Now I'm going to mix it in with a little bit of white. And this is really going to make that nebula part pop. Don't go too crazy with the light colors though. This is outer space. You can even blend a little bit like this. Et voila. That's looking nebula-esque. Now you guys can keep going with this. You can keep adding layers and it'll just basically make it look more and more like there's some depth. So the next step is to add some stars. So for this I'm going to show you another painting cheat code. Your old toothbrushes, when they're time to retire, don't throw them out. They make perfect splattering tools. So I'm going to dip my paintbrush in the water and then I'm just going to take a little bit of white. Again, this has to be running, otherwise it's not going to come off of the brush. And if you don't want to get your hands dirty, I'm actually going to use a glove because I don't want to contaminate everything that I touch later on. And there's no real technique to this, you really just splatter wherever you feel like. I'm going to do some that are kind of following. Again, sound effects, they help. All right. So let's take a look at that original painting. Oh, we need some bigger stars now. All right. So now we're going to go into that tiny tipped brush. We're going to mix a little bit of the blue and the white together. Want it about half and half. Half blue, half white. And we're just going to do a couple of bigger stars, maybe some planets kicking around. Don't fill the entire canvas. Try and stick to 30 or under. And put them in clusters. You know, a couple there, couple there, couple there. And I'm just using the tip of my brush. As long as you have enough paint on your brush and it's inky enough, it'll just come right off and make these little round forms. The trick to this is don't be too mathematical, just go wherever. Because in real life, you know, the stars don't all hang out in a straight line. And I think that's good for those types of stars. And I'm going to do a couple little fancier northern star type things. All it is, and I'm going to use my pinky to cheat and keep my hand in place. I'm just going to do a tiny little X, like that, and then put a line through the X. Ta-da! I'll do a couple there. And if you're doing a snowy scene, this is a good little cheat for doing bigger snowflakes as well. Okay, I'm going to leave that as it is. That's basically our background. So now we're ready to move on to the next step, believe it or not. We're going to go ahead and put the fish in. We want to start with pure white, so wash off your brushes if you have any purple or blue residue. Now I'm going to use the medium brush that we haven't used yet. My colors are probably not going to be perfect, but don't worry about that. Now what we want to do is kind of figure out where we want our fishes to go. I feel like this is kind of a yin-yang setup, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do one fishy about here. I'm just going to do a curved line. Don't do a whole C, otherwise that's going to be a wonky fish. And one about here. Perfect. I'm going to choose to make the top the tail, so that's going to be the skinniest part. Right here, I'm going to choose that to be the top of my head. So basically you figure out how fat you want your fish to be at the biggest point, and then you follow that curve you made and you make it get skinnier and skinnier and skinnier until you reach the tip. You do that exact same thing on the other side. Skinnier and skinnier and skinnier until you reach the tip. So now basically it looks like a really long skinny teardrop. So do that to the other one as well. And once you have your shape, fill it all in with white. Oops. No problem. Just make it a little bit fatter. Oops. You're going to notice I say whoops a lot. I make mistakes as I go. But that's okay. Everything is fixable. So we're going to need a few coats of white. So again, it's a good time to take a drink. I'm going to pretend though that mine is all filled in. Now we need to put some more fishy type stuff, because right now they're not looking very fishy. So I'm going to find the very tip of your fish's head, do a straight line that doesn't go quite all the way across. We're going to do like the little beak part. It's basically like a rectangle that tapers out. Comme ça. And then just kind of bring it into the rest of your fishy there. And there we go. They're already looking more like fish. Okay, now we'll go to the tips and we'll do the tails. So we're going to do kind of like a triangle shape. We'll make the top and the bottom. Right in the middle he's going to have a shorter little fin part there. Another one here, same idea. And for the fins, don't put them right at the head. We have to give enough room for the eyes and stuff. So right about here, like this, and right about here, doomsh, doomsh. The ones on this side are going to be a little bit shorter because they're being hid by his body. Same idea here, give yourself enough space to put the face of the fish. So that's it. If we were doing an abstract painting, we'd be pretty much done by now. So now I'm going to go to my smaller brush because I'm going to start doing the fin texture. You might want to practice this on your palette, but what we want to do is just use the tip of the brush, and that's going to make up the tip of the fins. So this is more like drawing with a marker. We don't really need to fill anything in, we just need to do lines. Try to make them all the same size. If you can't, no worries, everything is fixable. For the fins, we want it to be kind of skinnier near the body, so you might want to give yourself a little clue right there and start, and then make them a little bit bigger, like that. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and do all the fins. And again, once you have the shape in, you want to go over again with white, because you will not be happy with all the sky showing through. It'll just look sharper if you have a nice white surface to work on there. Try to keep the fins in the back smaller than the ones in the front. Otherwise it's going to start looking more machine-like. Alright, there we go. So again, pretend mine is good and white. Now I'm going to take a little bit of gray. Sorry, that's on my other palette. And we're going to make these fish forms look a little bit 3D. So right under the chin here, oh, that's not dark enough. Just going to go along the belly of this one. Stop where the fin is. Again, continue under the belly part. Okay, and a little bit on the other side. Now we need to put a gill in. So right, basically in between where you think the eye would go, right before the fin, a little gill line on both of them. Excellent. Now with the same brush, we're going to do a little